What do you do when the woman you love tells you she needs space, that she just wants to breathe, and then the next thing you know she's out in public, laughing, tossing her hair back, sitting right in another man's lap while the neon lights of a carnival blur in the background? Do you swallow it down, pretend you didn't see it, or does it hit you like a punch to the chest so hard you almost forget how to stand? Because that's what it felt like for me, like my entire ribcage collapsed in on itself. I still remember the exact words she used that night. "I just need some air," she said, brushing past me in that hurried, restless way she always did when something was brewing under her skin. I had asked her what was wrong, but her eyes darted everywhere except mine. She grabbed her jacket, didn't even bother to zip it, and walked out into the cool night. The door clicked shut and I thought, fine, maybe she just needs a breather. Maybe she needs the silence of a late-night walk or the smell of wet asphalt after the rain. She'd always been that kind of person, restless but poetic about it. But 2 hours later, my friend Mark sent me a picture. No caption, just the photo. It was her at the carnival, not by herself, not with friends, with him, his arms looped around her waist, her head thrown back in laughter, her body folded comfortably onto his lap like it had been there 100 times before. My throat tightened so fast I couldn't even breathe. You know that sensation when your ears start to ring and the rest of the world blurs? That's how it felt. I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe the angle was weird, maybe she just tripped and fell into him, maybe it was one of those awkward but innocent things. But then the video came. The same Mark, God bless him, though at the time I wanted to smash his phone, sent me a 30-second clip. In it she was teasing him, brushing cotton candy against his lips, then leaning down to kiss him, not on the cheek, not playfully, on the mouth. And the sickest part, it wasn't even tentative, it wasn't nervous, like two people caught doing something they shouldn't. No, it was bold, shameless, like they wanted the whole damn carnival to see them, like my existence didn't even matter anymore. I sat there in my apartment, staring at my phone, heart hammering against my ribs. Part of me wanted to call her right there, scream until my throat bled. Another part wanted to block her, delete every trace, pretend I never knew her. But the heaviest part, the one that kept me glued to the couch, shaking, palms sweating, that was the part that kept whispering, maybe this has been going on for longer than you think. The thing is, I'd ignored the little signs for months. The late-night work calls she'd take outside, the way she'd suddenly get dressed up to run errands, the secretive smile when her phone buzzed and she turned the screen away from me. I told myself I was overthinking, that I was being paranoid, that she loved me, and love means trust, right? I wanted so badly to believe her words instead of the knots in my stomach. But knots don't lie, and neither did that carnival video. That night I didn't sleep. I sat up replaying every conversation, every half smile, every excuse she had given me over the past 6 months, and suddenly it all clicked. The puzzle I thought was missing pieces was complete all along. I'd just been too blind to put them together. The next morning she came back, hair tousled, cheeks flushed, smelling faintly of cotton candy and cigarette smoke. She didn't look guilty, she didn't even look apologetic, just tired. She dropped her keys on the counter, avoided my eyes, and mumbled something about needing to lie down. I don't even know what came over me, but I laughed. Not a joyful laugh, not even bitter, just hollow. A laugh that sounded like it came from someone else's chest. She froze when she heard it, turned slowly, finally meeting my eyes, and in that moment, I think she knew I knew. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice calm in a way that scared me. She opened her mouth, closed it again, then she said the same thing she'd said the night before. "I just needed some air." And that's when I pulled out my phone, set it on the counter between us, and pressed play. The video filled the silence, her laughter, his grin, their kiss under the carnival lights. I watched her face drain of color, her jaw tighten, her eyes dart around the room like maybe there was a door she could slip through and never return. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She didn't even try to explain. She just stood there, silent, like a thief caught red-handed with the jewels still glittering in her palms. That silence told me more than any excuse ever could. Now, here's the thing. I could have thrown her out right then, could have screamed, cursed, told her she'd ruined everything. But instead I did something different. I decided to play the long game. Because betrayal like that, it deserves more than a broken plate or a slammed door. It deserves exposure. It deserves truth carved so deep it can't be erased. And that's when I started planning. Not just how to confront her, not just how to end it, but how to make sure she could never forget the night she told me she needed air, and I found her breathing in someone else's lap. Because some stories don't end at the carnival. They unravel in ways no one sees coming. I wish I could tell you I ended it that morning, that I walked away like a man who knew his worth, and slammed the door shut on her betrayal. But that would be a lie. The truth is, I let her stay. Not because I forgave her, not because I was weak, but because I wanted to see what she would do next. Sometimes silence is the loudest weapon, and I figured if she wanted air, I'd give her all the space in the world. I stopped asking where she was going, stopped checking in, stopped reaching for her hand when we crossed the street. I became a shadow in my own home, and in that emptiness, she revealed herself more than ever. She must have thought my silence meant ignorance, or maybe that I didn't care anymore. That was her mistake, because while she was out getting air, I was busy gathering mine, proof, evidence, details. And believe me, when you start paying attention, the world drops clues at your feet like breadcrumbs. The first one came a week later. She left her laptop open on the couch, a rare slip for someone who always guarded her screen like it contained state secrets. I didn't even have to snoop. The screen lit up with an email notification, bold and impossible to miss. Subject line: "Last night was worth every risk." My hands didn't shake when I read it. I just took a photo with my phone and walked away. That's when I decided it wasn't enough just to confront her. No, if she wanted to treat me like I was invisible, like my love was disposable, then I'd make sure she saw what real consequences felt like. I started tracing his name, his number, his social media, and what do you know? He wasn't just some stranger at the carnival. He was someone I'd seen before, one of those work friends she swore was harmless. The kind she'd tell me about in passing, all casual, like, "Oh, James said something funny today." Yeah, James, that was his name. The man at the carnival, the man in the emails. I didn't confront her. Instead, I started planting small tests. One night I mentioned James casually, watching her face closely. She didn't flinch, didn't even blink, just nodded and changed the subject. Another night, I asked if she wanted to go to the carnival with me. She froze for a split second, then forced a smile and said she was too tired. Every little hesitation was another nail in the coffin. But the real crack came one evening when she left her phone on the counter while showering. A text lit up the screen: "Can't stop thinking about last night. You're dangerous." She hadn't even bothered to change his name. My chest tightened, not with shock anymore, but with a cold kind of clarity. I snapped another photo and slipped the phone back exactly how she left it. Now here's the part that still makes me smile. Around this time she started accusing me of being distant. Imagine that, the woman sneaking kisses at carnivals, whispering into another man's phone at midnight, had the audacity to ask why I wasn't as affectionate. I just shrugged and told her I was giving her air. She laughed nervously, not catching the weight of those words. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't just rot love, it rots respect. And once respect is gone, you stop seeing the person as untouchable. You start seeing them as fragile, flawed and breakable. That's when I knew I had her exactly where I wanted. See, James wasn't single, that's the kicker. He had a girlfriend, a sweet, quiet woman named Claire. I found her through his tagged photos, the kind of woman who posted pictures of her dog and her garden, oblivious to the storm brewing under her nose. I reached out gently at first, sending screenshots, asking if she already knew. Her silence told me she didn't. 2 days later she wrote back. Her message was short but sharp. "Thank you, I'll handle it from here." That's when things really started unraveling. Claire didn't just confront James, she exposed him. To his family, his job, his friends, and while he scrambled to patch up his life, I sat back and watched my girlfriend slowly realize her shiny new toy was falling apart in her hands. She grew restless, irritable, snapping at me for no reason, staying out longer but coming home emptier. I could see the panic building behind her eyes, like a gambler who suddenly realized the casino never lets you win in the long run. One night she came home late, hair messy, mascara smudged, and collapsed on the couch. "He's not who I thought he was," she whispered, more to herself than to me. I almost laughed out loud. "Not who you thought he was. What about me? What about us?" But I stayed quiet, just nodded, offering her the kind of silence that cuts deeper than any accusation. The truth came out eventually. Claire cornered her at work, made a scene so loud that whispers followed her through the office halls for weeks. Suddenly, she wasn't the mysterious woman sneaking out for air. She was the punchline, the cautionary tale. And me, I stayed calm, collected, the steady presence she could no longer shake. But here's the twist she never saw coming. While she was busy drowning in her shame, I had already moved on emotionally. Not to another woman, not to another distraction, but to myself. For the first time in years, I remembered who I was without her. And when you rediscover that strength, you don't beg, you don't bargain, you act. So one Saturday morning, I set the table for breakfast. Coffee, toast, nothing special. She came downstairs, still in pajamas, eyes swollen from another sleepless night. She sat down across from me, and for the first time in months, I looked her straight in the eye. "I know everything," I said. Her fork clattered against the plate. She opened her mouth, but I held up a hand. I don't want excuses. I don't want apologies. I just want you to know that while you were busy needing air, I was busy breathing again without you." I slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed copies of every photo, every email, every text, neatly organized, undeniable. She flipped through them, face paling with each page. "This isn't just evidence," I said softly. "It's closure. For me, for you, for everyone you dragged into this mess." She looked at me then, really looked, and for the first time I think she realized I wasn't the broken man on the couch anymore. I was the one who had pulled every string, quietly, patiently, until the whole web collapsed around her. She left that day, took her clothes, her perfume bottles, her little trinkets. The apartment felt lighter, cleaner, like someone had opened a window after years of suffocating air. And me, I didn't chase her, didn't text, didn't call. I let her go. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't anger, it's freedom. It's watching the person who thought they could toy with your heart realize they lost the only steady thing they ever had. But every now and then I think about that carnival, the lights, the laughter, the betrayal caught in neon glow, and I smile. Because what she thought was her boldest, most thrilling moment was actually the beginning of her downfall. And I walked away breathing easier than I ever had before.